Hey, everybody. I heard that a little bird told you all that we were going to be on today. I think I dropped a few hints. Welcome to Spirit Talk Podcast with our resident astrologer. That's what I like to call you, Kathy Biehl.
Hey,
We're
all.
in, we're in the sunny northeast part of the country. I can see you have lots of sunshine there, too. We are gathered here together to talk each other off the ledge, like we do.
We
And we're happy
do.
that you're here. I don't see any, I'm not able to see any comments, so I must have
Well,
hit
there are a
something.
couple people here. Yeah. I say, hi, everyone. Thanks for saying hi. Oh, boy. Yes. I recognize some names. Hello.
Yeah, the regulars. We're family. We're a big family and always growing. So today is Tuesday, February 18th. The sun entered Pisces already, right? Today?
Yeah.
Sun went into Pisces. And is Venus in Pisces?
No.
Okay,
Venus
well,
is in Aries. Venus will retrograde back into Pisces next month.
so we'll talk about that.
Hmm.
Um, to book a reading with Kathy, go to empowermentunlimited.net. To book a psychic reading with me, psychicannetteDion.com. And I'm offering a special, but you have to go to my website to get it. And in order to get the special rate of the special, you have to send me an email, AnnetteDion7@gmail.com, and that expires the end of the month. You have to have the reading this month. So, we have a ton to talk about, and we have to kind of scrunch it into an hour. And I'm not sure where to start, but tell us what you've been up to.
I have been on a cosmic mission to talk people off the ledge. I
We
live and
both
breathe
are.
this. When I'm not doing that, I'm watching a lot of movies. I'm
Oh,
finding it
really?
really necessary to take a lot of downtime. And I don't know if any of you guys out there in YouTube land have noticed, but there's a trend among people who do this line of work to need to disappear periodically because this is daunting and it's a real push. So I encourage everybody to go have some fun, to do things with people that you like, to put this out of your mind for periods of time. The world actually is not gonna implode in the next day or two or three if you take some time off. So regroup, refresh yourself. That, and I'm doing that a lot myself.
So the world, not the country. You're saying the world will not implode.
The country's not going to implode either.
Okay. Just checking. It's all connected. Um, this week, well, gosh, there's so much. I've asked you to look at a couple people's charts, and then we'll look at others too that you feel so inclined. Like I'm kind of curious about Putin's chart, but I don't ask these ahead, that often. So if it's not in front of you, no worries.
Hmm.
But if something jumps out, feel free to jump in with that. I was curious about Pete Hegseth, um, who horrifyingly is, I don't know what he's doing. Do you?
He's drinking out of what looks like a highball glass at the podium.
I
Um,
love how he tells people he can just quit drinking. It's just like,
well,
what?
he's got a very rocky 2 weeks ahead of him. Really, really rocky couple of weeks ahead of him. Um, I had talked a bunch about the Leo full moon and it's setting a wrecking ball into motion that's going to hit a bunch of targets between now and March 12th, 13th. So he's got that happening. And he also has uh, Mars, which has been retrograde since the beginning of December, is stationing direct at the end of this week, meaning that a lot of stuff is going to start turning around.
Oh,
And the
right.
Mars retrograde hits, it's sitting at the degree that it's going to turn around from February 12th to March 9th. So it just kind of sits in the same spot,
Oh.
burrowing down, building
For that
strength,
long.
building
For
strength.
that long. That's it.
And
Just kind
as
of
it
sits there.
does that, Well, as it does that, it's moving into a couple of it's going to be hitting in succession mid-March and late March. First his Pluto, then his Uranus, both of which tell me he will not be doing the same thing on a daily basis by the end of March. Now,
When,
what that
yeah.
leads to, I don't know. I mean, many people have, well, I'm not kidding, would say that. There has been some speculation that he wouldn't last very long in this job. I'm not sure anybody in this administration will be in the job much past the end of March, as things are going anyway. So um, there's a big pileup, and I've talked about this on several other videos. There's a massive, massive pileup of energy in the sign of Pisces at the end of March. There'll be a new moon there, conjunct retrograde Venus, conjunct Mercury, which is communication, which is confusing and nonverbal when it's in Pisces, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Neptune, conjunct the North Node. So there's massive pileup, and it's going to be on his moon. Now, how he gets through that without a help, I won't, like some kind of
Yeah.
escapist help would be very, very, very difficult. And a lot of things could just change in an instant for him. Now, we're all going to be going through that. And that means now that the sun is in Pisces and Mercury is in Pisces and Neptune and the North Node and Saturn are also in the sign, just keep in mind that everyone is going to be on empath
Wow.
overload, whether you use that term or not. So your own detaching and clearing actions are more important than ever. I have a series of very short videos at the Professional Aquarian channel under the playlist Actions You Can Take that are 6 to 10 minutes long, explaining how to protect, how to dump your energy, how to recharge, how to give somebody their crap back. Highly useful now, because if you do this, you can get quiet enough to know what you really think about something, and you and get a stronger link to your own intuition and distinguish between nonsense that's flying around out there and, oh, this is what I know to be true.
Yeah, and watch Off the Ledge on my channel here because every day I check
Every
in every
day.
13 minutes and um, I make a really earnest attempt to get us on the track of spiritual thinking, which is, I mentioned today that we're brought up feeling like we shouldn't wish for things because they're not realistic, right? We're brought up with that program. Were you? I mean, I think that's a sort
Oh,
of a
how dare
collective
you want
program.
stuff? How dare you
Yeah,
want
that,
stuff?
right? And I've just been realizing lately that that's something that I kind of picked up along the way, and that most people have. Like, oh, don't like. I even remember my brother saying a long time ago, "I don't wish for things because then when they happen and they're good, then I'll be surprised, and if they don't happen, I'll be prepared anyway." Like that. But we don't need to be in that place. We need to be in the place where all thoughts are creative. And I'm really encouraging everybody to think about Kamala Harris, the rightful winner of this election. I'm not sure why exactly we are not aware of investigations that are happening, but you know that they're happening, right? Do you know that? Like,
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And
yeah,
I'm choosing how I'm staying calm about what's been going on with the European Union and NATO this past week is looking at these breaks in our diplomatic relations with longstanding allies as giving said allies every incentive to spill what they know and
yeah.
to shut down the person who's plowing his way through all of our personal data. I would bet Germany's going to do something to protect its own election.
Which
Since
is
Vance,
on Sunday, right?
yeah, when Mars goes direct. But going back to what you said about not about being brought up to not wish for things, there's a new moon in Pisces at the end of the month. It's on the 28th. in the US, the 29th in Europe,
wow.
just barely.
Yep.
And it's got magical create what you want energy to it. And I put my forecast will be up Thursday about this, and it's dream it, voice it, dream what you want, voice what you want, claim what you want. And there's a big difference between saying you want something and being able to actually have it. We often have a block inside of us that makes it not okay to get what we want.
Yeah,
So,
that's why I'm not rich yet. That's it. Somewhere along the line, I got that spiritual doesn't mean rich.
well,
I'm working through.
a lot
I'm
of us
working
get
through
that.
it. I'm working through it. Um, so what I was kind of feeling is that our allies and world leaders, when they see what happened over last weekend with JD Vance was saying, and just clear as can be. Can't be clear. Those are Russian talking points verbatim, right? It's not like they're going, oh wow, I wonder where that came from. Oh, did they just make that up? You know what I mean? It's just like it's very obvious. It's not like they're not familiar with Putin and what his whole agenda is. So on the world stage, I really do sense that other leaders, although they're really frustrated with us, I'm sure, for many reasons, they also know what's going on.
Oh,
So,
I do think so. Now, I mentioned Mars is going to be sitting for a number of weeks in the spot of its direct station, which is 17 degrees Cancer. If you know anything about astrology, this is going to activate, push on anything at 17 degrees of the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Well, this direct station, Mars, sits and sits and sits in a really challenging, activating relationship to Putin's Saturn, which
wow.
is on Trump's Jupiter. It's also on the US Saturn. So something big going on there. And then in mid-March, big change with international stuff coming for Putin. Now, who knows what that will be? But so highly active stuff for Putin through mid-March. And throughout all of this, on Mars rules his house of health, so that it's possible there could be something that happens behind the scenes that maybe we don't get the truth about that could be dangerous to him. That's all. That's as clear as I want to be about that.
So in March, it feels like there's a lot. What I've heard astrologically, that there's a lot that's going to shake down in March.
Yes. And just know, I mentioned all this pileup of stuff in Pisces. So the general atmosphere is going to be everybody picking up everything from everyone else. Pisces can be the spin, it can be illusion, it can be the gaslighting, it can be everyone deciding that they're going to have 2 cocktails a night. I will admit to that. So there's just this general, absolutely confusing petri dish that we're all in. While this is going on, there are 4 big things happening. 2 involve Mars and Uranus moving ahead and starting to knock some stuff forward. Really noticeable between the 9th and the 13th or so. In the middle of that, we have a lunar eclipse that will involve healthy boundaries. It will involve rearranging what we've put up with other people. The whole notion of martyrdom versus service, sacrifice versus doing things in a healthy way. This happens on the U.S. Neptune in the ninth house of laws, courts, foreign relations. So there will be a chapter closing with a huge amount of, listen to this word, revelations
Yeah.
coming out of foreign countries and affecting our borders, our boundaries, and our dealings. This is still while there's all this, really confusing stuff going on. And then at the end of the month, when we're completely immersed in this giant hot tub of everybody together and picking up what everybody else has, two big things happen. One is we have a solar eclipse in Aries on NATO's Venus-Mars conjunction. So NATO's going to do something. NATO will do something.
When is
Well,
that?
the eclipse is at the end of the month, but we're feeling it now. All right. And the Mars station is right on NATO's ascendant. So something between now and early April will be coming out of NATO with this. But everybody is going to be galvanized to action. And then we will all jump out of the hot tub in
Not the window, the hot tub.
the hot tub, because the very end of March, Neptune, the guy that's ruling this giant pool party, the planet, I call him the cosmic fog machine, the boundless influence that unhinges us from earthly reality, for good or weird. Neptune moves into the sign of Aries, which we have not experienced in our lifetime. So
Oh, wow.
we'll have a, I'm seeing it as like everyone becomes the Ace of Wands out of the tarot,
Yeah.
and there is an innate energy, life force, just where you become your own link to the divine. But it's with the knowledge of everybody else's stuff from soaking in this giant vat of everything and then running off. And then there will be more things that will amp that up as the year goes on. But so and there are two other really big things happening in March. We have overlapping retrogrades. When Mars gets done being retrograde, Venus goes retrograde in Aries back into Pisces. And then while she's retrograde, Mercury is retrograde from Aries back into Pisces. So the middle of March is going to be a giant revisiting, rediscovering who am I, what matters, and just know that communication is going to be really, what's a word for it? Not on the surface. There'll be many undercurrents to everything. The concept of breadcrumbs. We might be thinking all of reality is a breadcrumb at that point.
A breadcrumb?
Like hint, 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 hint. There's going back over all kinds of stuff. So I say, take it easy. I know, do what feels like you should do at any given moment. And sometimes that's taking to the streets. Sometimes that's helping a neighbor. Sometimes that's pulling out and watching Netflix for 4 hours. Sometimes it's taking a nap. It will vary. Sometimes it's driving your Congress people crazy. I'm really good at that one.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of calls. They're getting like exponentially way more, like thousands upon thousands percentage more calls than in normal times.
So, and if you pull out, you'll know what your marching orders are on any given day. You might feel like, oh, okay, today's the day I'm just going to do my laundry and not talk to anybody. Or today is the day I'm going to go for a walk in the park. Or I'm going to go get food because I think I need to have some in my house.
Yeah. This time reminds me a little bit of the pandemic, because during the pandemic, it felt very Neptunian. I don't think we ever talked about the astrology of COVID. Maybe I didn't even know you then. But like when it first started, when nobody knew what to think. because no, we weren't really getting facts. We were getting information from all different places, and people were getting in fights about masks, and it was just like there used to be a clear path. Once upon a time, we knew what was going on. You know, just in a general way of speaking, we knew what we could rely on, and we knew what was going on. And you mentioned in the past that that was a Neptunian influence, the whole cosmic fog, the whole people being under mind control, and that. Have we moved? That was Neptune and Pisces. Have
No.
we been moving? Like, remember you talked about the cosmic fog, and I thought that was Neptune.
Oh, yeah. And we're in it. I mean, Neptune is about to end its 14-year stay in Pisces.
Oh, I
So it's
see.
getting a 2-month send off, a
I see. That makes
2-month
sense.
party. And it'll be back in the fall. It'll be back in for a little bit starting in October. And it's only going to go back to the very last degree of Pisces. It's not going to revisit a whole bunch of stuff. So this is the swan song, and this is like Neptunian stuff to the max. So if you're a
Yeah.
creative person,
Yeah. I got
create
some.
like crazy now.
I got some songs brewing for sure.
If you're a creative person, watch this space, because someone I know who always organizes the most amazing things has a collective of creatives he's assembling, and he wants people to be launching something on a specific date. He's been asking me about it, and just kind of like flood the internet with acts of creativity
Oh, I love that. I
as
love
a
that.
counterbalance. Yes, I'll let you know when it is, Annette, so
Yeah,
you
for
can
sure.
get a song out.
For sure.
Um, It's
Cool.
a playwright friend of mine in Texas. So
Yeah, great. Now, in terms of the protests that went on yesterday, do you see a collective trend for that to just persistently just keep going?
yes,
The
yeah,
protests, like
That's a
daily.
Pluto in Aquarius. That's a Pluto in Aquarius event, phenomenon of people forming communities and banding together. And with Venus and Aries, that would also make it out in the street. Uh, like, you're going to listen to me, wham, 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 wham. So
Yeah.
I don't see that going. I don't see that going away at
And
all.
the feminine, divine feminine rising up. This is the time for the feminine rising up and taking her power. And it just seems like we did a backslide when they stole the election this time. You know, it's just like amped up misogyny and racism and all the criminality and the mob boss thing, and this we're in this big political mafia show. But it, I mean, I think a lot of us were kind of so discouraged when it ended. Kamala, you know, the Kamala's not in the White House now. That when that all happened, that we may have lost sight of the rising of the divine feminine, and I think we've also lost sight, just in general, from what I can see, of that we're actually improving as a civilization. We're not devolving, we're evolving. And if you look at like pre Trump, right? We were really, I mean, we elected Barack Obama. And so we're really on that trajectory of we're evolving, we're improving, we're expanding, we're more inclusive, we're more progressive, we're more into the environment and all that. So that continues. I mean, I don't know if there's something astrologically, like maybe Pluto and Aquarius, but that indicates that we don't go backwards. You know, like Kamala was saying, we're not going back. So we really are, we're still not going back. I wonder how to get that message across. Like, whoa, I know it appears that we're going back, but we're not.
That'll look. It'll feel like such a rabidly, and I do mean rabidly, different world when April kicks in. Because what is going to happen? Here's the nature of the shift. At the end of 2024, all of the outer planets were at the very end of signs they had been in for a long time. And they were communicating from this finishing up old guard position. And they were in signs of earth and water. So they were basically mud. Then Pluto moved into an
Yeah.
air sign. And this year, all of the other outer planets are one by one moving to the beginning of a sign. 2 of them will be in modes we have not lived through before. Neptune moving into Aries, then Saturn will move into Aries. That happened in the very late 90s last time. Then Jupiter will move into Cancer and be pushing on those guys. And that's in June, and that happened last 12 years ago. And then in July, Uranus, the change agent, the disruptor, the guy that throws the lightning bolts, moves into Gemini, where he has not been since the 40s. So
Oh,
many of
wow.
us have not lived with that. So they're all going to be communicating at the very beginning of fiery, steamy, fiery, passionate, uh, empowering vibe.
That's a
So
lot. Yeah,
I see
it's a lot of
people
fire.
just doing more and more what they need to do. And the odd aspect of it is, I was discussing this with someone yesterday. The eclipses that we're moving out of, the ones in Aries and Libra, which have been going on since March of 2023, those eclipses with the North Node also in Aries have been pushing us toward self-actualization, do your own thing, don't worry about other people, and renegotiating all of our relationship ground rules. And as soon as we finish those, because the one at the end of March is the last one in this series, the final booster
Oh,
rocket shooting us forward, we are now also in eclipses that are reminding us of how interconnected we all are. So it's like we're all
yeah.
independent, and yet we have to figure out how we're going to interact with all of reality,
I'm
because we're
looking
all.
forward to that. I mean, I love your mug.
Isn't it great, everyone? Annette
Happy
gave this to
birthday.
me. Annette sent this to me.
That's your birthday present. Um, I I'm excited when I get my mind out of the muck of what we're looking at right now and how horrible the news is and everything. We'll get into that in a minute. I actually feel like finally I'm not going to feel like the only one who's an activist, right? Because other people are rising up and they're being activists too. And so it sounds like we're going to see a ton more of that. And I think
It's
it's,
been more.
out of necessity. Um, have we talked about Elon's chart?
I don't know, and I also don't have it
Yeah, it's
prepared.
fine. It's fine. It's fine. I just wondered. I mean, I'm sure in your other shows you've talked about it. Are there any key points that stand out just glaringly?
He's a Cancer. He's pissy. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's good. That's enough.
That's good enough. That's good enough for me. Um, anyway, but I do want to mention, you also asked me to look at is it Caroline or Carolyn Levitt's chart, and
Yes.
she also has really big changes by the end of March. So it is not. And okay, so this is not magical thinking, people. This is not false hope. Mars, with his incredibly long retrograde, has been on a research mission through October of 2024. And after he goes direct later this year in the spring, he is going to repeat where he was on election day, and then he's going to repeat the exact aspect that happened right before it. It is not out of the realm of possibility that all of this gets undone, because at the
Yeah.
same time, Kamala has mind-blowingly empowering aspects pushing her front and center and putting her on her life path, her mission.
Yeah. That
Okay,
fits. That fits, right?
it
That
fits.
fits like a glove. That is just like where we're supposed to be. We had the choice between hell and heaven, and people chose hell, and then the election got rigged, messed with. So,
Well, the point
uh,
being, at the end of March, we move into territory that we who are alive at this moment have not lived through before. And you will increasingly hear the word unprecedented. And that is going to continue. So whatever happens is going to be something we have not experienced before. There will not be a roadmap for how to deal with this.
People hate that.
But
You know what I mean?
but
Like
there's
people
a
hate
but
that.
the benefit is there's an element of being able to make it up as you go along.
Exactly.
And with the horrors that have been happening with the data breaches
Yeah.
and people just capriciously being denied money that they are entitled to. I have a relative who did a massive amount of work for an agency and his payment was cut. He's having to find a new line of work because the bulk of what he did for last year, they're not going to pay him for, just capriciously. And this is happening to more and more and more and more and more people, which will reduce some of the complaints when really shocking, unbelievable, this has never happened before, things come to light and
Yeah,
are implemented.
they'll stop blaming us.
Right. So I want to share something with everybody. I have these magical things. This is fairy glamour. So in honor of all the Pisces, I want everyone to take their own little piece of fairy glamour here. See, it changes colors when you move it.
I'll take it.
It changes colors.
I can
So
feel it.
we're all getting fairy glamour.
I can feel it. It's cool. That's like my moonbeams that you sent.
That's from the same place.
Yeah. But what is that website?
But they're from Haunted Cottage Apothecary on Instagram.
Oh, okay. Haunted Cottage Apothecary.
When I first met this woman and I found out what I always when I go to a fair and I see vendors who have cool stuff, I always ask them, well, where are you? And this woman tells me what town she's in. And then she says, I'm in the Halloween house. And I went, wait, the farmhouse with the skeletons decorated in front of it all year round? And she went, yep. And I went, I drive by there and take photos.
I see that in the
Salem. I know your house.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about that kind of thing in the wake of, this threat of, we won't dwell on it, but the threat of Christian nationalism.
Oh, God.
And I think about Salem, and the whole month of October is Halloween, and that really is, Salem's pretty dead the rest of the year. As far as by comparison. And like all under Christian nationalism, none of this could really happen. Like the magic store and all that, like the magical, mystical stuff, they would frown upon and call it satanic. And I just gotta
well, synagogues couldn't happen either. Good luck with that.
Yeah, right. Nothing that's not like this extreme Christian stuff could exist. They wouldn't allow it. And I just got this which is date by date calendar book, and they have the history of women being persecuted, and men too, and executed. And it's just like I said, we're not going back, right? What does that say? I can't read it.
It's Jesus saying, I have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I saw that. I think on your Facebook. And this whole idea that they have that we're gonna just do that again, right? We're gonna just go and do witch hunts again. It's like it just doesn't fit this vibration that we're in, right? Pluto in Aquarius is not gonna be like, oh, let's burn the witches, the accused witches, just people.
Well, there will be power realignment back and forth, and what we're seeing is the tech bros. That's the tech oligarchs. That's Pluto in Aquarius. Claiming their dominance, but that doesn't mean they're going to get to hold on to it. If anyone has any doubts about this, go read about the French Revolution. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm going to watch Les Miserables. I am. I do have a question about this thing that I keep hearing from astrologers, particularly, because I think it's disconcerting. I keep hearing, we've never been through anything like this before. It's going to be like humanity's never experienced this before. It's going to be, everything's going to be different. Right? And it's just and I get a little heebie-jeebies about that
Mhm.
because I'm not really hearing anything but nothing will be the same and so our catastrophizing minds could take
Mm,
that and say the aliens are gonna land or an
they might.
asteroid's gonna hit the planet, like we're gonna go into straight on world fascism. I mean, there are many different scenarios, and I'm being the psychic, I can look into it more, but just on the surface I hear that a lot. But then I heard you interviewing Steve Judd, and
Mhm.
he, like I and you, were saying 2025 is going to be amazing.
It's a year to finally, I mean, look, the rest of the world doesn't make sense, so why do you have to live by the old rules? Go do what you haven't allowed yourself to do.
Well,
Go
that
be
has a little
yourself. Go be
that
yourself.
that could have a little bit. I'm just going to play the devil's advocate here. A little bit of like, you better party now because the world's going to end tomorrow, right? Like, it has
No,
a.
that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm just saying that could be
No, 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 no.
an
I mean, no, there
interpretation.
will be people saying, "I'm not gonna wait anymore. I'm just gonna go do X." Bam, bam. My colleague Donna Woodwell, who I do some stuff with, has yeah, it said at the beginning of the year, she thinks this is gonna be the year of just quick changes, of people suddenly saying, "Nope, done with it," wham, and running off and doing something that they didn't dare
Yeah,
do before.
that's positive. It's just that the world has to cooperate to some degree. We have to still be here.
Well, we're gonna still be here, and I keep going back to this. In every reading that I have done since the beginning of the year, actually starting until late last year,
Yeah, we talked about this.
everybody has doors opening,
Yeah,
sunshine, path
yeah.
unrolling, really big possibilities opening up. I am not seeing people cowering in the corner, being blocked, being hindered, having horrible, horrible things happening to them. What I'm seeing in people's readings is absolutely inconsistent with a neo fascist uh, oligarchy putting their boots on our necks. We're in a transition period. The year between the beginning of the year and the middle of April, it's just almost with 1 2 week period, a nonstop retrogrades. It's redoing, going back over, revisiting, rethinking, regrouping, and then we go forward. So take your fairy glamour,
Oh yeah, I
play with
love
it.
Fairy Glamour. Fairy Glamour is great. So when you interviewed Steve Judd, what was he attributing this like good feeling to? Like, because there is a darkness that it's like we're under a dark cloud right now. What
Right, and
was it?
he thinks that huge pileup of planets in Pisces at the end of February is one of the 4 big events of the year, but he's seeing very, very positive developments from all of the outer planets moving to the beginning of new signs simultaneously and in conversation simultaneously. He thinks that we could have really rapid evolution as a consequence.
And the planetary lineup that I heard people talking about, was there a lineup of planets kind of recently?
Oh, yeah, yeah, and this yes, yes, there are. If you wanna follow stuff like that, there's a wonderful resource called, um, Earth earthsky.org. It used to come from the McDonnell Observatory in Central Texas, and they have a newsletter, and every single day they'll send you information about what's going on, and they'll explain the science and the astronomy behind
Right.
everything. So,
Right. But
I defer
it
to them.
wasn't like what would they call it in the 80s?
Oh,
Remember the
this is
big
not like the harmonic convergence.
harmonic
Oh, don't
convergence? It's not like that. Because I
no.
kind of heard it in passing. Did you know all the planets are lining up? I don't know if it was all of them, but
No, but
it's like
that would they were
everything.
just it was visible. It was visible in a line.
Oh yeah, I did see that in the night sky the whole month of January. I think December too.
It's pretty cool. Look up and go, "Oh wow, that's what I'm paying attention to."
And I too doing readings. I don't see gloom and doom for people, but were you seeing the shadow that we're under in people's personal charts?
No, I'm seeing it in what people are complaining about and talking about and freaking out about online
Yeah, but I just mean
in
astrologically.
their chart. And no, I'm not seeing people overloaded with stuff in their charts.
Okay, well, everybody, you can be under the positive sunshine rather than the dark cloud. that we feel, and I'm writing an article right now. I'm going to finish it eventually. Sometimes they take forever. About how we have been literally programmed through the media to believe worst case scenario is coming and there's no way out. That's what they want us to believe. So, and I just wanted to mention too, while I'm thinking about it, Hegseth, when I did a reading on Pete Hegseth, I got that he was going to be fired very soon, in the very near future.
That I would not be surprised.
And Carolyn, however she says her name, Levitt, the press secretary, who took Kayleigh McEnany's place, that she did that job before. I think she's going to get fired too. She's doing a horrible job. She's 27, so she's going into her Saturn return, and I just she lies badly, and she fumbles her words and says words that are really inappropriate in certain places in her sentences, and she's looking like an absolute fool. Now, and speaking of this illegitimate administration, I heard today that Trump is kicking Elon out. So who the hell knows? It's like,
well, no. What he did was, in a court filing, say that Elon is not part of Doge. He is a senior advisor to the president. Now, what advantage he thinks that's going to give him in this, whatever the filing was? Huh.
He's the leader of the coup. Let's call it what it is. Elon is the leader of the coup that's going on right now.
Well, and also the data breaches are a violation of federal privacy law, and also the privacy policy of these different websites. And I mean, it's not inconceivable that there is a massive class action lawsuit that every taxpayer could be part of against the federal government for what happened with our data. And for anyone out there who hasn't frozen your credit, please do it. In my actions you can take playlist, the first video explains to you how to do it, and do it at all 3 credit agencies. It's free. It's very easy. If you later need to get a loan, like you need to buy a new car, you lift the freeze during the time of the transaction and you put the freeze back in. This will minimize what someone can do with the info that they have about you. But I have a question for you, Annette. And it has to do with the skullduggery that's going on involving the reshaping our alliances. So I saw the announcement that Marco Rubio is opening the door to the U.S. having a mission in Moscow and Russia having a mission in the U.S. Now, my first reaction was hell no, but then I remembered we used to have them. We used to have them. I think Obama kicked the Russians out of the U.S. Will that? What will happen with that? I called my senator. This is a very different thing. So so do you see that happening? Do you see it getting far enough that they actually?
This is not even remotely similar to what was in place before. I don't know what was in place before.
Embassies. There was an embassy here. There was an embassy there.
Okay, and then Obama just ended that.
Well, because of there were reasons.
So the question is, how far it will go?
Yeah, will we actually allow Russia to have an embassy in the U.S.?
Well,
will the United States? Will there be a Russian embassy in the U.S. in 2025?
Yes. Will there be an embassy? No, I have no. It's a very clear no.
Yeah, I would find that difficult. And I had a follow-up. What was my second question?
There are safeguards in place. I really do feel that we can't see, that we're not being told about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of makes sense that we're worried when we read the headlines, but then when we get away from the headlines, we're feeling like everything's okay. I mean, that's what my life feels like. When I get away from the headlines and I'm not like doing a PNN or anything to brushing up on the news for that, I just feel like Everything's going to be okay. And I really want to encourage people too to entertain the idea of, like, say it was, I don't know, several years ago before all this huge mess ever started. It's March. We're going into March. We're going into April. You're probably thinking about your garden and you're thinking about activities that you'll be doing and festivals or whatever. Think about those things, right? As if that's what's going to be happening. Anyway, did you think of your other question?
No, it
Oh,
was related to that.
to the
It was related to that.
well, let's ask about Marco Rubio because he's really pissing me off royally. Not like the rest of them are, but
He
I
was
don't
given
know.
his party line.
Wow. Have you ever looked at his chart?
Actually, no, I have not looked at Marco Rubio's chart.
Okay, I think I just asked you about Hegseth and Levitt
Mm-hmm.
for today. So let's ask this. Is Elon going to be booted out? Yes, I get a yes on that. So even though we're not really looking at his chart.
Well, let's ask this. Is Germany going to do something to him about their own election?
I've read on that and I've gotten a yes. Let's see if
Yes.
that's still, it's a strong yes. It's very, very clear. They're not putting up with this crap. They basically, like what I texted you today, I think it was that, or yesterday I said, what they're doing is in Europe is they're treating this as if it's the emergence of Hitler. Like Hitler's coming onto the scene. And when you think about it, how many times have we heard that Trump doesn't read, but Mein Kampf is a book that he had on his nightstand, and that he did actually read, to whatever extent he reads, Hitler's speeches. And he does use the same tactics. And he was Mussolini. And he is afraid of the people rising up against him. So don't let him ever make you think that he's not afraid of that. But I feel that Europe knows what it's dealing with because it's the same kind of fingerprint. And so it's going to be treated as if it's Hitler, Trump and Elon. And they're going to take it seriously. And I feel a lot of energy around the ICC, the International Court. And I have never, ever, ever, not even remotely, thought that Jack Smith was just like, oh, well, I think I'll just take a walk. Oh, it was fun doing the investigation. Quite to the contrary. He's at The Hague now, right? He's not in the country. Do you know?
I have heard this from other people. I do not know, but I've heard this.
So I feel like what Merrick Garland and Jack Smith put together was not meant for this country. It wasn't intended to go through the court judicial system in America. My psychic impression is that it was they agreed that they were going to take this to the world court, and that it was the world court that was going to deal with it. And I think part of that is because this government, the infiltration of the Kremlin into America was just really well known.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't really a way. And I think, like we've always kind of talked about, this international crime ring has many layers. Did you see Netanyahu and Rubio together?
God, no.
Oh, was it him? What a bunch of bozos. They're basically talking about ethnic cleansing in Gaza. It's like, what the hell? Speaking of Hitler-esque. So I really think that it's going to be the international court that deals with this. Because it's an international crisis. It's not just America. It's not about that. I know that that Romania had an election. Remember that?
And that got overturned because of the interference. And a certain someone and his special satellites had been there a couple of weeks before, and then suddenly this person nobody ever heard of died. Huh.
I lost track of what did it get flipped and she
Yes,
the rightful winner. I don't know.
Well, they had another election. They had another election. Yeah, I think she did.
Isn't it interesting that that news story didn't come across my feed at all? Did it come across yours?
Yes.
That the
I was
rightful winner was
I was
actually,
screaming about it. Yes.
when was
Yes.
that?
Really soon after ours.
Yeah, because I knew that Elon bragged that he had rigged it, right? And then they were going to go back and did they do a re-election or how did they resolve that? You don't remember?
The election was thrown out. I think they had another election.
Okay, I don't know how I wanted to know, but I didn't ever
Yeah.
see the news story about that. And then wasn't there another country that he
Georgia?
messed? Do you know what's happening there?
No, that one I don't know, but there are
Okay,
several.
we'll have to
But
check our world news.
now I have, bringing it back into the United States, there is a brewing issue that I think is internally an indicator of how some things are going to go. And that has to do with the corruption of the DOJ instructing prosecutors and them all just jumping ship to
Yeah.
drop charges against the mayor of New York. Now, here's what I want to look
Oh,
at. So the mayor of New York was indicted for, I think he took money from Turkey, I think. He covered up his crime, and a superseding indictment was on the way, another round that was going to be added to it. And he goes to Mar-a-Lago, and then there's this deal in return for him cooperating with ICE. New York's a sanctuary city, which means that they
yeah,
won't use their police. So they make this deal. He lets
yeah.
ICE into Rikers Island, lets them into a prison. And then
Wow.
the top 4 deputies on his staff resign.
Yeah.
So, but there's more to it. And there is an inspector general kind of person in New York that has now demanded that Eric Adams lay out a continuity of government since he's lost so much of his staff. And there's
Yeah.
talk about whether the governor can remove him. My question
Yeah.
is he gonna get removed, or is he just gonna wait it out? Because
He'll be
he will
removed.
be he'll be removed because he
He'll be
will be
removed.
reindicted. He will be reindicted.
I think that the governor has power there. Is it going to be through her? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know
So,
why people are saying she doesn't, because
well,
I get that she does.
I see this as an example of things within our country that are going to undo and destabilize a lot of what is happening.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
The judge blocked that today. Interesting. So he refused to the judge refused to dismiss the charges. He didn't that doesn't mean that the charges are going to get prosecuted. The DOJ can still just not assign anybody to it, and it can sit in abeyance. But that takes away the leverage that Trump has on Adams if the
Yeah,
charges aren't
good.
dropped.
Good. What a bunch of disgusting POSs. Have you looked at all astrologically about this whole ICE immigration thing? I don't know how you would look at
Yeah,
that from an astrological standpoint.
this is connected to, we have Neptune in Virgo in the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of foreign dealings. It cover immigration.
Yeah.
It deals with racism. It deals with the role of the church and belief systems. Neptune in Virgo started out as, intactness, like separating church and state, but Neptune in Pisces has been opposing that and dissolving many, many things. I mentioned that there's a lunar eclipse in March. In the middle of March, it's right on top of the US Neptune. So there will be some milestone chapter closing in this issue, and it's already starting, and it's
Yeah.
going to play out for several months. I do not know. I do not know how this will play out. It involves revelations. It involves escalations. It
Yeah.
involves people being booted.
It's horrible. It's horrible. What's going on with the ICE? It's horrible. No wonder they're looking at this, what's going on in America, like we can't have another Hitler kind of thing.
Well, and the thing about Homeland Security has changed its focus, and it's dropping looking into monitoring drug cartels and
Yeah.
domestic terrorism. Its focus is on people who are illegally in this country. And for those of you who didn't catch this, the Attorney General just single-handedly, I don't believe this is legal, has extended the death penalty to people who are illegally in the country. Now,
Didn't see
that
that.
yeah, okay, so that's pandering. That's also
Yeah.
blatantly unconstitutional for any
Yeah.
number of reasons, but it's pandering, and it's a complete corruption of the Department of Justice. From It's supposed to be completely insulated from the executive branch. Just
Right.
it's like its
Right.
own freestanding thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Not anymore. This is a fake administration.
all that Neptune, all that Pisces, something
It's
is not
just,
real about this.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's gonna go up in a puff of something.
Let's remember, and I think most of us saw this little clip of Kamala and Joe walking to the inauguration and lip reading. You could see she said, "Justice is coming." I
Yeah.
mean, let me ask the pendulum. Like, was that an accurate read? Yes.
So what I keep coming back to is in the past 2 weeks of their administration, Biden and Harris were both talking to foreign leaders. In fact, her
Yes.
travel schedule had her going all over the world, and she canceled it because LA was on fire, but she was still making calls to foreign leaders.
Yeah.
What outgoing vice president has that on their task list when they're leaving?
Yeah.
That is
Well,
the biggest
yeah.
tell as far as I am concerned.
And that backs up what I've been picking up on all along, and what I've been saying is the government that we see right now is not what's really behind the scenes. We have kind of a shadow government that's looking out for us and what's happening here, and that actually backs it up. So you feel that too.
I just know that with all of the relationships that he had over 50 years, Biden was
You're
talking
right.
to everybody,
Yeah, and still
and
is.
he had to have known this kind of nonsense was coming. And I'm sure that the prime minister of Germany is freaked out and furious.
Yeah.
But NATO's in a really tricky place with all of this, because
Yeah.
the way the energies are, they're going to have to do something about Russia. And what happens if the U.S. doesn't take part in it? So I keep coming back to, there's every incentive for whoever has the intel to stop Musk and to spill the intel about what happened on a global scale.
So let's send lots of positive vibes to NATO, to our allies, and let's make this thing go in the direction it needs to for the good of everybody. That's what will happen.
Annette has visualizations. I have
Yeah.
visualizations yet. And Kamala she went to see Gypsy for Valentine's Day. She saw Audra
Yeah.
McDonald and Gypsy. Oh God, I wish I'd been there. Um, Anyway, Annette has visualizations. I have a
Yeah.
whole bunch of them. If you send me a message, I will send you a link to them. Or if you go to my Patreon, there we go. Patreon.com/Kathy Biehl. You can become a free member. You don't have to pay anything, and you'll have access to a whole bunch of visualizations that will lead you through, for example, taking all your anxiety, dumping it in a cauldron and turning it into light.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's a particularly good one, I think.
Yeah, and I read. Kathy's provided me with a daily, very short forecast for the day. So once again, I do daily videos. It's not a live stream. It's 13 minutes. I do it in the morning and then I upload it because people are like, "Oh, I missed the live." No, it's not live. And she provides me with that. So I play that for you during the off the ledge little 13-minute vids every day. And I'm also available for readings, as you all know, psychicannetdion.com. And here's the mugs. I still have plenty of mugs, and I'm shipping some today. Yep. And classes will be coming up soon in the near future. We have a guided meditation every Thursday night, so join us for that. It's Tuesday, so I don't have PNN tonight. And is there anything extraordinary you want to tell us about? Do you have any workshops or events coming up? Sometime we should do a package. We should do like a half-hour reading and half-hour.
That would
We'll
be a good thing. My monthly Ask Me Almost Anything on my Patreon is Thursday night. People get to ask me questions. Just putting video content out like crazy. It's my mission.
Me too. Yeah, so let's keep the positivity going. That's what we're all about here. Thank you. We'll do this again in the near future. I think that's everything. Well, it's never everything, but that's an hour's worth.
And I want to acknowledge, because there are messages from Europe in the chat. I want to acknowledge that our relationships with our European allies have been fractured, and as long as the current administration is in place, I am sure that nothing will be trusted, and it may take a period of time afterwards to rebuild trust. And probably, in fact, I will say definitively after this, the U.S. is not going to be the domineering force that it has been all over the world, which just rearranges everything, and other countries come to the fore. Canada's in for a big self-empowerment streak coming up. So everything's shuffling. It's rearranging.
Yeah. That's good. I can't see the chat, but thank you everybody and from other countries, of course, for supporting us. And I have gotten guidance too that we need to be praying for the people of Russia.
Yeah.
You know, as I'm reflecting on how the rest of the world, they don't know, they're not here, they don't know us personally. You know, they probably don't watch videos where we're like all pro-democracy. But the way that we look at Russia it's kind of damaging, and it's all because of Putin. Well, the way that people in the world are looking at the United States is really damaging because of what's going on here. And from their perspective, they see, oh, America wanted this, right? Well, Americans were under cult mind control. A lot of them. There's a lot of reasons that things went the way that they did, and that we're at the place that we're at. So let's pray for the people of Russia too. All right. And thank you. I know things are heavy nowadays, but we are in the business of keeping that vibration high. So join us, subscribe, become a member of our channels at Professional Aquarian on YouTube, at Psychic Annette Dion. And I think that's good. I think that's a wrap.
Bye, everyone.
We're here for you.
Do something fun. Do something nice for yourselves.
Thank you. Namaste.